All right, this next song is called Vertigo. I want to see some headbang.
All right, welcome back, everyone. A little bit different this time. We have a Zoom interview today, which is a good excuse for me to not use my shitty desk mic. I can actually use one of these good mics for a change. We were joined today by as soon as people tell me how to pronounce their band name, it completely leaves my mind. I'll leave it up to them. We're joined today by Santtuw Winter and Jason Gooslaw of our local Seattle-based melodic death metal band. Go ahead and
Veriteras.
Veriteras, yes. Go ahead and introduce yourselves and let us know what part of the band you play.
Hey guys, Santtuw Winter. I play guitar and do a little bit of the backup singing with Veriteras.
And I'm Jason, and I play drums.
Nice. So, you guys formed in 2018, is that correct?
Yeah, that's crazy. I think we've hit 5 years this month in February, which is pretty crazy to think about.
Nice. So, what was the story of all you guys coming together? I know you're Seattle local, but are you guys all from here, or did you kind of come from different parts of the country?
Yeah. What's your story, Jason?
So I grew up in San Francisco, but I've been living here since like 20 years now. So yeah, that's my story. I've been in a couple of bands and we actually started together in 2011 with another band, and then that split apart, and then we took a break and then came back together in 2018 and I've been going since.
Yeah, if you have the chance, you should check out this early 2000s brutal death metal band called Mindcore. Jason was the drummer for them.
Nice.
Been out there another. And I was born in Finland, moved to the U.S. as a little baby. I grew up in the Bellevue. And so we played in a band called Winterfell, kind of the early 2010s. My wife got a residency down in Portland, Oregon, in dentistry, so we went down there for a year and a couple months, and so that kind of put a pause on music things for a while. But in 2018, felt like the right time to kind of re-engage with music. And so we're a 4-piece. There's also Sean and who plays guitar and does the growling vocals, and then Jeff, who plays bass. And Sean was also in this band Winterfell, and then Jeff is kind of a new member, brought in some new blood and some new ideas, which is cool.
Nice. So you guys were all doing your own separate projects and kind of just came together, just like 5 years ago, you said?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nice. And then you guys are playing tomorrow night, actually, at the Funhouse Seattle. Really, really good venue. Have you guys been there before?
Oh, yes.
It is.
Yeah.
Sorry?
It seems to be like the premier punk and metal venue in Seattle for smaller bands like us. I mean, it's great to have a place like that where you can play, and it's like it's a dive bar, right? It's like it has a creepy clown kind of statue out on the front, so it's really a perfect spot for the hardcore, the heavy metal show like this. So really looking forward to it.
It really is night and day because it's right next to El Corazon. They are like the same venue, but they're separated by a wall. El Corazon is like definitely more of the understated kind of dark lit, and then Funhouse is just this wild, crazy carnival themed, like really intimate setting.
Yeah,
it really tells you what kind of show you're going to see based on which one they're going to be playing in.
True. Yeah. I can't imagine though that property will stay as what it is for too much longer. I mean, you look around it and it's just developing, becoming high rise and all that. So
yeah.
I mean, my understanding is that the person who owns El Corazon and Funhouse, like they own the land there. So hopefully, whenever that does get developed, they can, build in that it stays a music venue on the ground floor, or maybe down at the basement so it doesn't bother anybody.
Yeah.
But see what happens.
Yeah, there definitely has been some issues lately with a lot of, definitely the punk scene, with a lot of their venues starting to kind of go the way of like the Kraken Bar. You said was going out of business in February, which was definitely a big scene for a lot of people in punk rock and stuff like that. So it is nice to kind of see places like Funhouse and El Corazon thriving. The High Dive also is a really fun place to go catch bands in that area. So what would you say is some of your like guys' biggest musical influences? Like what kind of helps you, find your sound?
I think as a band, I'm curious of your thoughts too, Jason, of like what influences your drumming, but from like a maybe a band sound standpoint, the strongest theme is definitely the Scandinavian melodic death metal scene. So early era In Flames stuff that now would be classified as probably like blackened melodic death metal. Not that like all these sub genres are really that important, but early era In Flames, Kalma I think is a big influence. Nightwish, they're not necessarily melodic death metal, but kind of that strong melodic element. Insomnium, Children of Bodom, kind of a lot of those bands. And if it's Scandinavian and it's melodic death metal, yeah, that's kind of tends to be our happy place.
Definitely. So that like that northwestern European, that metal scene, definitely like a big influence.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What are like some bands that you listened to when you were younger, like some like CDs that you would always pick up?
What would you say, Jason? Yeah, what are your
drumming? For me, I always listen to like Malevolent Creation and Death and those bands from the Florida death metal scene, and a little bit of Dream Theater and a little bit of the European metal as well. But I really got into the American brutal death metal scene and and those bands and so that's kind of where my drumming comes from.
If it has lots of double bass pedals, you like it.
Yeah.
So
Jason, you're from, I'm sorry.
Just for me, I think like it's funny kind of the thinking back on the pathway of like metal is kind of like melodic death metal. I mean, like all these kind of extreme metal genres, like it's rather abrasive and kind of ridiculous when you think about it, right? It's like there's so much going on and so intense. But thinking about like the stepping stones of how I got into metal, it was I really like things that had kind of like almost like a melancholy melody to them, but had a strong hook. Like many people, my mind was totally blown by Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit. And I got into Nirvana like after Nirvana wasn't even a band anymore. Kurt Cobain had killed himself already. But that was like the first stepping stone. And then I got into Alice in Chains. And then I think I listened to like Nightwish and some like Finnish metal bands that didn't have the harsh vocals. But kind of the gateway band and song for me was In Flames, Mirror's Truth off of Sense of Purpose. This is like in 2007 or 2008. And they, for as much kind of grief as In Flames gets for their more modern sound, like they truly are a gateway band for a lot of people, that it's kind of straddles that line between kind of the more pop kind of commercial metal sound and is kind of a gateway to the less commercial extreme metal scene. So
Scandinavian metal, Nirvana, Alice in Chains, you definitely have a regional loyalty to you, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought about that way, but it certainly is true.
So Jason, being from the Bay Area, is there any kind of regional death metal or melodic bands that influenced you before you made the move up here?
Not necessarily melodic, but I mean, I was really into Metallica and Slayer and that whole the Bay Area scene down there and those bands. So that was kind of the gateway for me. And then once I got tired of Metallica, then I kind of made the move to more hardcore death metal.
Excellent. All right. When did you come up here?
It was 90s, late 90s, 90, 99.
Oh, so you came at the right time then.
Yeah, right.
So I've heard bands kind of have multiple different kinds of plans of attack when it comes to releasing their music. Some people like to do like the very traditional coming out with album by album. Some people like to do just singles as a way to kind of keep people interested, especially the more indie bands, because they don't have a big following. it's really hard to keep people's attention nowadays. Do you guys come out with albums, or are you guys kind of doing more single releases as the time goes on?
Yeah, I'd be curious to your thoughts of like what have you seen as successful in the music scene? Um, for us, I mean, keep in mind that we all have day jobs, and our goal isn't to be professional musicians and make a living doing this, but it's a hobby, but it's a very passionate hobby. That's kind of the context. Um, we've put out 2 EPs, one in 2020, 3 songs, another 3-song EP in 2021, and then our full length in 2022, and we're currently working on our next full length. And it was kind of an intentional process of there's just so much to learn about their whole recording process, and working with a mixing engineer and who's doing the recording. It's like those have huge factors on how the sound of an album ends up sounding like. So for our first 2 EPs, we wanted to work with different people to do the mixing. We try to do some of the mixing kind of ourselves too, and having heard what a professional, somebody who does this like day in day out, can produce, we just decided, we should just pay someone to do the mixing. So for the first EP, we had 3 different people mixed the songs. So we had different mixing engineer for each of the songs. And then for the second EP, we had 2 people mix the 3 songs. And then we picked the person that we liked working with best, which is Don Gunn, who's kind of in North Seattle. He's awesome, great to work with. And then we worked with him for the full length. And now, having released EPs and a full length, I think that it makes sense to do full length albums. I see the logic of like doing singles or shorter releases that you can kind of release them more often, but just the attention that LPs get it seems like it's easier to reach people if you have a full length album. That it's actually pretty hard to get somebody to review an EP. They're usually like, we're just not going to bother with EPs. That it's only if it's an LP, then we'll take a look at it. So from that perspective, even just kind of makes sense to save up the songs until we have a full length album and then release that.
Okay. So you guys, so what was that, 3 EPs in the last 3 years? 2020, you said the next one was 2021, and then you have one in the works right now?
Yeah, 2 EPs and then a full length. Yeah,
Okay.
and then we're working on our next one now.
So do you guys like to tell a story with your album and your releases, or is it kind of just like each song has its own like kind of origins?
Yeah. We should talk with Sean on what he's thinking for this next album. He's writing most of the lyrics for this next album.
He's kind of the storyteller.
Yeah. He's the lyricist. We figured out that he's the best at writing lyrics.
Okay.
There's maybe the album has a theme, and maybe our like lyrical content in general kind of has a theme, but there's no overarching story or something like that. That'd be kind of cool to do, but
yeah, I never even thought about doing a like a concept album. I think that'd be great, but yeah, that requires a level of coordination I don't think we've gotten to yet.
So
Jason, you should write the story, Jason.
Yeah. I don't know what I'd write about.
So each song is just kind of a spur of the moment, kind of just like, this sounds good, let's roll with this kind of thing? Or like, what does your process look like?
Yeah, it's kind of an evolving thing, but in general, like I'll write a demo for a song, record kind of the basic guitars, and then do some MIDI drums, and then circulate that with the other guys in the band and kind of get input and buy-in that like, yeah, this is an idea worth pursuing. And then we'll start learning it together, and I think we really start to refine transitions in particular of kind of like, how do we flow from one part to the other. And Jeff is great. He's our bass player. He's maybe the most, I don't know, between he and Jason, probably like the most kind of musical, kind of musically trained. So he really pushes us to kind of marinate in the songs for longer when we're playing them live, to kind of really figure out being able to play off each other instead of like, here's the demo, this is how the song was when I recorded it, let's just record it exactly like that.
Okay.
And then Sean would kind of overlay the vocals on top of that, and just kind of whatever theme is running through his mind when he's writing the vocals kind of ends up being lyrical content.
Okay, so definitely more of a free form approach. Like you guys don't want to like kind of box yourself in going, we got to hit these notes. We got to kind of play our song like this. It's definitely more of a, not a vibe you want to catch, but more of a, you guys have an idea for a sound, like kind of an emotion you want to capture, and that's kind of how you guys want to play it.
I think I think the other extreme would be like one of us comes to practice with a riff
Mm-hmm.
and we just start playing it and kind of going from there. It's like we don't jam like ever really. I mean, maybe just like very briefly. You It's always kind of somebody has a a song that's essentially written that we kind of, it serves as a starting point, and we
Gotcha.
kind of go from there.
So not like a super
So,
rigid. It's just you come in with a small idea and you just build off that until you have your song.
or usually we come in with a pretty well formed song and then we refine it together.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's nice. So
But props to bands that can kind of write together. It takes a lot longer. Isn't that how your prior bands used to work, Jason? Was like you guys would flush it out together?
Yeah, that was a big deal. It's a big process. Here's a riff, let's fight with it for a few weeks, and then here's the next riff, let's fight with that. And it takes months to put a song together. And the way we do it now is like Santtuw said, he'll come together with a song, record it at home, send it out over email, and then that's the basis of our song. And the nice thing about that is I can listen to it and chart it out, and in a few days have it charted and meet for practice, and then the homework is done, and we can just play the song, and then it gets refined from there. Maybe a part gets moved around or whatever, but it's really, I love the way we do it now because it's quick. It's the basis of the song is already there, and so we have a good strong root, and I really like the way we do it now.
But then again, the technology has advanced quite a bit since kind of the earlier bands you played in. Like,
Sure.
was the internet even around?
All right.
I mean, I'm gonna say you do look young for being still in the music scene back in the '90s. Like, hell, you look my age.
Jason is
Thanks.
he's timeless.
Yeah, timeless.
He's timeless. We'll put that in the review. Timeless.
Yeah,
Timeless Jason Gooslaw. So this tour that you guys are currently on, like, are you guys kind of just staying local? Or are you guys out traveling up and down the West Coast, or do you guys tour very often?
We're not actually on tour right at the moment. We played. We're a Seattle-based band, so we've just been kind of doing some local shows.
Okay.
We played Hail Santa, which is an awesome. I don't know if you went to that, Jake. It's one of the best kind of metal festivals in the Seattle area. It's usually in December. Tyler Sturgill, I think his last name, with Zoth organizes it and puts it on. So we played that in December, and then in January we played at Daryl's Tavern up north in Shoreline, which is a great bar. And then we'll play this show at the Fun House tomorrow, and then we'll go on hibernation to focus on recording and refining the new music. So
Okay. So what's been your most favorite place to play? Is it Hail Santa, or have you guys, what's like your favorite venue so far?
what do you think, Jason?
Boy, that's tough. I don't have a good answer there. Yeah, we played some I forget what it's called now, up in Bremerton. That was a good little venue. We played the Erebus down.
Bellingham, you mean? Yeah.
Or Bellingham.
The
Yeah.
Shakedown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Shakedown. Yeah, and we played Erebus. Um, I don't know, all kinds of places around here. I don't know. What do you think, Santtuw?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I'm super thankful for El Corazon because they've given us some really big opportunities to open for like we opened for Dark Tranquility almost exactly a year ago, which is like, one of the big three melodic death metal bands, and to have the chance to open for them is incredible. So I'm really thankful for El Corazon for kind of the opportunities that they've given us. In terms of like venues, I really like the Substation. We did a show that they just, like, when you're playing in a band and like if there's not a lot of storage space, to kind of put your stuff, and you got to leave your stuff in your car until you play, and then you got to put it up and then tear it down and put it back in your car. It's like it's a pain. So when there's plenty of space that all the bands can have their stuff out, and it just makes things run more smoothly. So the substation was great from that, and they had a great sound and kind of a great stage and a lot of space. Yeah, I think those are the two that stand out to me. Yeah, El Corazon and the substation.
Yeah, I agree. The substation was great. Yeah, it's roomy. It's well put together, and people, the people like coming to the venue. They got a good bar. They got the patio outside. Yeah, I really like that place.
We played some pretty cool venues in Finland too. So we went to Finland in May of last year and did like a 7-show kind of mini tour. And it was interesting seeing how they're just like small cultural differences between how like US venues run things and how US kind of, or I don't know if it's US, maybe it's just Seattle based shows are run, where like in Finland, like one band brings the drums and then another band, maybe it's the same band, brings the cabs, and then everybody uses the same drums. You switch out the cymbals and like the kicks, the pedals, and then everybody stacks their heads on top of the cab and everybody gets a sound check. So the band swaps, like in the US, they're usually, for me at least, they feel fairly frantic, like you're always in a rush. Like I remember in Finland, it's like, you kind of go up there and you turn your amp on and then you just kind of like dink around for 10 minutes and then you start playing. So kind of cool to see the cultural differences with these things.
So going on the inverse of that, what do you feel like was your worst experience playing a show? Like what was just nothing went right, or the venue wasn't great, or maybe the crowd wasn't great? Like what was like your worst live experience as a band?
I feel like at every show we learn something, and sometimes the lessons are harder than other times. Usually I think we are like, none of us are like incredible musicians. Like we're all proficient in our respective crafts, but so I feel like usually we play pretty well and we sound pretty good. There was a show in Finland where, because of like a decibel restriction, they had to have the drums behind like this plexiglass screen, and we don't use like in-ear monitors or anything like that, and so we just like could not hear the drums. And there's a couple parts where we have some harmonized guitar solos, and Sean, the other guitar player, he was like, he just had to stop playing because he couldn't hear where I was, he couldn't hear where the drums were. And so rather than try to make it through the song, he just, okay, I'm just gonna sit this one out. So yeah, that was that was a rough show. But it's hard too, because then you talk to people in the audience and maybe they're just being nice, but I think people genuinely can't hear like 90% of the mistakes that people make.
Okay.
What do you think, Jason? What's
Yeah. I
show?
mean, it's a fair point. Yeah, I'm blown away at how generous people are when, we think we've had a really bad show and that nobody knows. But yeah, I would say that was a pretty rough show. But yeah, here, I mean, the fun, like you mentioned at the Fun House, like having to scramble all the equipment in, play the show, scramble our equipment out, back out to our cars, and it's just frantic the whole time. And if we can't hear each other, it just doesn't go well. And so, yeah, probably a show at the Fun House. We've played so many times at the Fun House in Corazon. I know we've had not a great show there, but yeah, that one in Finland wasn't that great. But yeah, like you mentioned, I'm blown away at how generous some people are. And,
Or maybe they're not really listening to us.
Yeah, right.
I mean, yeah, it really is hype just to be at a show and see people play. So
Yeah.
even when things do go wrong, it's you know it's not intentional. It's like, oh, it's not like these guys are unprepared or anything like that. It's like we know how difficult it can be running all this, and we see how frantic it all is. So when something does go wrong, people are just more forgiving. And it's just like, okay, like obviously with all these chords and all these people switching around, something's gonna get fucked up eventually. So people are just definitely more like, all right, whatever. They tried their best, and it still sounds good. Like I'm still here to see a show. So it's like when your favorite sports team, biffs it. It's just it's not personal, and they're not trying to fuck it up. It's just sometimes things just don't go well.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right. So you guys said that this is mainly just like a hobby for you guys, like something you're super invested in, obviously. But where do you want to take this? Like, do you want to keep moving forward? Do you want to like start doing tours? Like, what do you guys think is next for your band going forward?
Yeah, I think we've found that it's really important for everyone to be on the same page with, like, in particular, like what does success look like, and being on the same page of, what are people's expectations in terms of time commitment, financial commitment. I mean, like, this band is kind of a money pit, and
Every hobby is.
yeah, exactly, yeah. I think it's well worth every dollar, but so yeah, so we've tried to be very intentional about kind of writing down what our goals are, like what is kind of our purpose, and what are our goals. And we did that originally, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, and our goals were release a full length album, which we did that, to open for some international touring bands, which we had the chance to do that, and then do this tour in Finland, and we had the chance to do that too. So it was cool to, like, set a vision, set goals, and then work together and then achieve them. It's like, it was awesome to have that. So then after our Finland tour, that kind of, you know, maybe ended one phase of our band. And then we took a brief rest, and then thought, kind of came back together of like, okay, what are we in this for? Do we want to do another round, another album cycle, and do some more touring? And everybody was up for it. So yeah, so I think the goal is to have this next album sound better than the last one. It'd be great to work with a label on this one, even just like for the promotion and the distribution of reaching more people, and get back to Europe in some form, or maybe do some, like a week-long tour in the US or something like that. So yeah, maybe take it up a notch or two, I think would be really fun.
Okay. So personally speaking, what has been like your favorite achievement so far? What's been like your just best memory over the last, say, like 3 or 4 years, with specifically with Veriteras? Like, what's been your one, like, wow, this has been the top goal so far that I've achieved?
Hmm. What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, for that easily. I mean, hands down was the tour we did in Europe and or Finland. And I mean, personally, I never thought that I would do such a thing. And it's really thanks to Santtuw. He put it all together. He reached out to the bands over there. He reached out to the venues and put the whole tour together. And because of his work, we were able to do that. And I mean, it certainly, it's not like we were there to make money. We didn't make money.
We
But
made some, but we spent more.
sure, spent a lot more.
It's Europe. You
And
got to.
yeah, right. And so, but I mean, that was by far the best memories, that we've had, and just, doing shows and hanging out after the shows, and, driving to the next show, and just seeing the countryside, and that whole experience was, yeah, easily the best experience of this band.
Yeah, I absolutely, yeah. Finland was a wonderful time and a beautiful experience. Yeah, I think for me it was recording our full length album, like hanging out. So Don Gunn has this like backyard studio at his house, and it's just like cozy, really nice environment to be in. And Don's a lot of fun to just spend time with, and he's very patient and answers kind of all of our questions. And it was just so much fun to go there and hang out together as a band and drink whiskey and just like be creative, and kind of recording the album was everything that I had hoped recording an album would be. So it was fun to have that experience. Because I mean, you never know. It's like, who knows how many albums we have in us? It's like, we have this next one, but like beyond that, it's like, who knows? So it's good to kind of make the most of these experiences, because they could be pretty unique.
And so, what's the story behind this next album? Like, what kind of went into this? What's different? What's the difference between this newest album and what you've come out with so far?
I think I would say that this one is my goal for the sound is that it would be epic, blackened melodic death metal, I think is kind of how I would describe it.
Mm-hmm.
That they're like on our previous full length is the song Endless Unknown, that it's kind of moving in that. So it has a ton of tremolo picking. It's very melodic, but it kind of has more of like a kind of a blackened, I don't know, edge to it. And there's an earlier song called Vertigo that's kind of similar, that has this like melodic black metal or blackened melodic death metal sound to it. So it's kind of moving further in that direction and kind of exploring what that space is like. So there's more of the songs have more tremolo picking and more of that style of music. What would you say, Jason? How's this different?
I would say it's more intense. The songs that you've been sending out, far more intense, a little bit faster, a little, and I would say more, what do I want to say, driving, right? It has this driving force, this energy to it, and I'm loving the stuff that you guys are putting together. So I'm excited to play it. I'm excited to hear it. Yeah, can't wait.
It is such a cool part of like seeing the songs kind of come to life as we play them together. So exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys have any more shows lined up after Funhouse, or where else can we see you after that? That show's going to be on the 3rd. Doors open at 7. Do you guys have anything planned after that?
Nope. Yeah. No, we don't have anything else booked, and it's really hard to, like, we have to conscientiously not book things. I think at some point I had forwarded an opportunity to the other guys in the band, and I think Jason was like, so when are we going to just focus on our new stuff? Because every time you play a show, you burn at least like a practice worth kind of refreshing and making sure you're ready for the show. That constantly switching between prepping for a live show and working on new material, the progress on the new material ends up being slower. So yeah, this will be our last show, probably until, I would guess, the fall, maybe August, but probably the fall.
Okay.
When we have our new album, we're tight. We know all the songs. We can play our new stuff. And yeah, to be honest, it's like, I'm sure a lot of people have, seen us at more than one show, and we kind of have our set list. And it's time to incorporate some new songs, and we need some time to be able to incorporate those new songs into the set list. So It's also to kind of refresh things for the audience.
Yeah, and there's an irony there, because when you're starting out, it's kind of you're trying to get shows, you're trying to get other bands to recognize you, and hey, can we play a show with you? Would blah blah blah, and that's kind of difficult, and you have to put in some effort there. And then now we've got so much momentum, we don't even have to try now, and it's just we've got shows coming at us, and it's it's difficult to stop, put the brakes on and say we gotta we have to do this other thing now. So yeah, there's an irony there.
Okay. So you guys oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think I realized that maybe a year ago, like whenever like a tour package would come through, it's like, oh, we have to open for them. It's like, this is a kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I think now I realize that no, like either they will be back in town in a year or two, or kind of an equivalent tour package will be coming through town, and we can have the opportunity to open then. That it's okay to be patient.
Yeah, you guys want to more so wait until you guys are ready and you have something that you can be proud to play, and not just go out there and throw out any old thing.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So you said this new project of yours is definitely more intense than your previous ones, which is definitely something to think about, because I think in the lead up to this, I was listening to your Shadow of Death album, and that goes pretty hard. So to think of something even more intense than that, that's definitely gonna be something to listen to for sure.
Cool. Yeah.
It's definitely got some melodic hooks to it. So it's melodic and more driving.
Okay.
And so yeah, it's funner to play and funner to listen to.
But it does feel like there aren't many other kind of melodic death metal bands in the region, and Seattle has a pretty thriving metal scene, and a lot of the bands are really heavy. So I feel like whenever we play a show, it's like we sound like a pop band in comparison to like the brutal death metal bands and stuff like that. So
I've
I don't
heard
know.
that a
It
lot.
gives some variety too, right?
I've heard that a lot. It's such a varied type of sound out here that you go in. There's been a lot of times where I've gone into a show expecting one sound and getting something completely different. Nothing bad, but just not really what you were expecting. When I had Memoir in here once, they talked about how they went and booked a show, assuming that all the bands were going to sound more or less kind of like how they did, and it's like, no, they were way softer than us. So when we went up, we thought they were going to hate us. It's just
Nice. Yeah.
it's such a varied sound out here. It's hard to tell, but it's definitely appreciated. Like, people do love the variety out here for sure.
Hmm. And I think tomorrow's show, like that is a stacked lineup of like local bands. I mean, In Pathos, Blighted Eye, Void Dancer, and La Cabra. Like those, I think like the bands kind of will complement each other, and that we're kind of in the same sector of like have a melodic edge to them. Some bands more than others, but also some really heavy bands. I'm super excited to hear all those guys.
Yeah, I heard about you guys when I went to. It was like kind of like a meet and greet for prog rock enthusiasts. So when I
Oh yeah,
saw
you
you
went to
guys,
that. Cool.
yeah. So when I saw you guys and I listened to your stuff for the first time, it definitely not was what I was expecting, but I was definitely into it. I was just kind of taken aback, like, all right, it's gonna be prog rock, so it's gonna be kind of slow going at first. And I heard it, I'm like, no, not what I was thinking, but I loved it, and I was like, I need these guys on for sure, and I'm
Cool. Yeah. Well,
excited to
thank.
hear you guys
How
tomorrow.
how was that event? I saw the kind of the flyer and
It was
the
all right.
promo.
Definitely not a big turnout, but definitely the people that did show up, a lot of musically inclined people, so a lot of jam sessions were taking place. So it was definitely a nice place to meet people, network, and learn about bands and upcoming shows and stuff. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I did meet, oh goodness, what was his name? It was someone from La Cabra.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And I did talk to him a little. Clint. It was Clint from La Cabra. I did talk to him for a bit,
Mm.
and so that's how I ended up learning about this show.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I love the concept of that. Just kind of like
Yeah,
rather than like a concert, there's just a chance to get to know each other.
yeah, it was definitely something right up my alley because I was thinking it's like I really need a way to like meet these guys so I can talk to them and hopefully kind of learn more about the scene, and it was perfect timing.
Yeah.
So I definitely hope that's something they do more of for sure.
Well, there's I put together a Spotify playlist for like active Washington State metal bands. I can't remember if I sent you the link or not, but you should check it out. It's kind of a cool way. It's like a snapshot of it covers all of Washington State, so it's more than just Seattle, but it's cool to hear all the diversity and kind of depth of the local metal scene.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Definitely send that to me. I'll put that in the link, the description below this video, and definitely guys check that out because that's gonna be, if you do, like you said, a snapshot of the burgeoning metal scene in this area. That's definitely something you're gonna want to listen to for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, like this. Goodness, I've lost my train of thought already. It's been a long day, unfortunately.
All right. Yeah, I believe it.
But I'm definitely looking forward to the show tomorrow. Again, that's gonna be tomorrow, February 3rd, at the Funhouse Seattle. Doors open at 7, correct?
Yep.
But yeah, come check them out. It's definitely some of the best up and coming sound you'll hear in this area, without a doubt. It's gonna be them, Blighted Eye, Veriteras, La Cabra, and I know I'm missing some, but my mind is just
In
Yeah.
Pathos.
in
Yep.
Pathos.
In Pathos.
My mind is just white noise right now.
Nice.
But I super appreciate you guys coming on, taking the time up from your day. I know you guys are getting prepared for your show tomorrow, so I appreciate you guys coming on and giving everyone your time. If there's anyone before we sign off that you want to shout out or anything you want to promote, by all means, go for it.
Jason, anybody?
None that I can think of offhand. I mean, thanks to the other bands for, being in there and playing these shows with us and really driving this scene. It's because it's not just about one band; it's about all of us. Being there and doing these shows and putting it together. And so, yeah, shout out to the other band.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, so shout out to my kids and my wife. Thanks for letting Dad make loud, scary sounding music.
It's the best kind of music, is when it's loud and scary.
Yeah.
and also thanks to you for doing this. I mean, having us on, and it's just another platform. So yeah, thank you for putting this together.
Of course, anytime. And I hope to see you guys in person here one day. I'll see you guys in person tomorrow, and by next time you guys want to play any festival, feel free to come on down. We can do this again.
Yeah, sounds great.
Alrighty, guys. This was Veriteras. I will be putting a song in post, obviously, to play us out. But thanks again for coming in, guys.
All right.
Good. Thanks for having us.